welcome to See the Invisible Stuff. That's the name of the YouTube channel, spelled just like that. See the Invisible Stuff. If you like a video, and subscribe. Okay, in this video, I want to talk about something. This is something pertaining to the church, something inside of the church, right? Sometimes, if a particular church, your church that you go to, a well-known church, or a pastor who you may have a lot of respect for, or your pastor in general, sometimes when a pastor do things a certain way, or if a church do things a certain way, it can just become the norm. It can become the culture of that church, right? And sometimes people can forget to still think for themselves. Sometimes you kind of just go in the flow. And look, sometimes, you trust your pastor, you trust the church. And if you're at a good solid church, there's nothing wrong with that. But still, you still have to remember that you still have to think. You still have to have your own mind as well. And you got to still remember to stay tuned into what the word is saying. Stay tuned into what God is also speaking to you about, right? And if what the culture of the church already is, or what the pastor do, or what the pastor say, lines up with the word, then you can flow, you can continue to flow in how things go at the church. Because sometimes when you go with just the flow of the church without thinking on your own and just going with the flow, sometimes, whatever the church is already doing, whether it's right or wrong, you'll just keep going with the flow of it because you're just in the flow of the church, which is a good thing to be in the flow of the church, so long as what the church doing is matching the word. See, that's the whole thing, right? Because we are all human beings. Human beings run the church. Some things are just tradition in the church, right? It's been done so long, it's been around for so long that it got accepted as norm, whether it's right or wrong. And if you don't think twice about it, you can get caught up in doing a wrong tradition. And this is a very important thing that I want to point out. You can't be afraid. A pastor, leadership, they're human beings just like everyone else, right? There's nothing wrong with having high respect for your pastor or leadership at the church or fellow church members. Nothing wrong with being respectful and looking at them as someone who you can learn from. That's good if you're in that type of situation. But you have to keep in mind that they are human beings and none of us are perfect, right? Even the church that they're running, no matter how much you love the church or the pastor, that pastor's still not perfect. You can't be afraid to ruffle feathers if you know something isn't right. If God talked to you about something, if the word says something in the church or the pastor or anybody there is doing otherwise, you can't go along with it. No matter how much you love the church, no matter how much you love the pastor. Because right is right and wrong is wrong. And this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to know biblically that something isn't legit, that the church is doing, or that the church teaches, or the pastor says do. If you can't know that it's wrong, you can't know that it's wrong and continue to go along with it, because the thing that you can dangerously be in a position where you may be entering that area of willful sin, knowing, okay, this is wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. That's dangerous. You don't want to go there, right? Yes, you can say something. They got a difference between respecting leadership, obeying leadership, and doing the right thing. If the leadership is not doing something that's right, you have a right to not do it, because your obligation first is to God, what His word say. First, even above leadership, even above what the church is doing. You might be ostracized. You might be the one who everybody look at a certain way. You might have to stand alone. But if you're doing what the word say, then you're doing the right thing. And that's what you have to do. You can't get, and who knows, you might can plant that seed and you can help change that particular matter. And even if you don't, you did your part by not being a part of it, letting them know why you wasn't a part of it, and that's that. After that, it's up to that individual to make that change. But you have to do that. You can't just go along with it. I've been in this, and I'm speaking from experience. I've been in this position multiple times. Well, I respectfully went to leadership and, let them know as far as this go, as far as that go, I wouldn't be able to participate. This is why, we had a talk and, hey, that was that. I was going to sit certain things out because I didn't feel like that it was right. And you have a right to do that. That's if what you're saying is along with what the word say. You don't just flow with that. You can't let fear get the best of you. Worrying about what everybody gonna think. What's more important, your fear or with God's word? Which one? That's not even a contest. God's word. So don't be afraid to stand up. Don't be afraid to be. Maybe somebody might, everybody might say, well, they think you are very wrong about what you're saying. That happened to me before. And one instance where it happened was, this wasn't even something necessarily, this is something that God had spoke to me about in my own personal life. So this time, it wasn't a biblical matter. And, I let a person of the leadership know, well, this is a move that I'm going to make. God had been speaking to me about this. And the leader disagreed with it. He said he felt I was wrong. But that's irrelevant. I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. That's his opinion. I'm not mad. I wasn't mad at him. Still not. But the fact of the matter is, this is my own personal relationship with God. This is a personal matter in my life that God had been speaking to me about. And I continue to pray about, seeking God about, and he continued to give confirmation about. So what am I supposed to do? Listen to what I was convinced God had talked to me about? Or listen to what the leadership said that was contrary to what God had been talking to me about? Of course, I got to go with what God said. Not that I don't have respect for that leader. I went to him respectfully. Not that, I don't value his opinion. It don't mean that. It's just that, okay, he's on the opposite side of what God said. So I won't be going with that person in this manner. That's just a no-no. And this is not a church bashing video because it's a good thing. If you can find a church home, iron sharpens iron, like the word say. It's good to do things in teams. You can learn from people. People can learn from you. You can help people. People can help you. So it's always a good thing. If you can find a place that's, like a good church home and you got good people around you and you're around good people, that's good. So this is not an anti-church video. As a matter of fact, I'm all for going to church. To me, that's the ideal situation if you can find a good church. But just because you're at a church, you love the people, you love the pastor, don't mean you have to go or supposed to go with everything that they do. And even if somebody is in leadership, somebody can be famous, well respected or whatever, if they're doing something that's anti-Bible, you have a right to not go along with it, and you shouldn't go along with it. And that's what the video is about.